recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, equally addictive, work, relationships, collecting, materialism, you name it. All about filling that feeling inside of emptiness, and also the acquiring of, I guess, a way of looking right and feeling right. I never quite felt right, because I put an awful lot of thought into thinking how to be right, which meant that I wasn't probably living in the present moment. And I remember going on a training course where it was all about trying to be ourselves, and people said of me, it's almost like you're here, but you're not here, you're somewhere else. And of course I was living in my head and trying to portray just how wonderful I thought that training course was being. But at the same time, you know, we learn all these behaviours as we go along. We behave in a certain way. So for me, from the first drink taken, my alcoholic head, or my predisposition to be an alcoholic, was there, because there was fear in abundance. I didn't know it was fear, I just felt some sort of feeling which just left me anxious and with anxiety. So when I took that first drink, it did the trick. It made me feel happy, or it took the edge off. It released me from some anxiety, and there on in, whenever I could, I would use it as a fix. So how do I know this? Well, it's only because I'm in recovery. All the years of drinking was about conviviality, joy, and taking the edge off and doing what everybody else did. And the simple answer would have been, I would have been better off without. But then I wouldn't have learned all the things I've learned. So I don't regret the past in any way, and I don't resent all that happened. I'm sure there are resentments there were in me about my behaviour and the way I was with other people. But we can only learn, and it's been a very long journey of learning how to be sober. So what keeps me sober today? Well, there's a fellowship called AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, which is part of the story. And family, friends, community, professionals all played their part in helping me keep alive long enough to get that moment of clarity which said to me, or I said to myself, I cannot do this on my own. So out of isolation into inclusion these days. What a shock that was to my system, and it's not easy. It's not an easy way to live initially, and then we find we start to prefer being sober, and then we start to know and understand that life is better without taking the edge off, because we're learning how to live life one day at a time. So as AA helps me, and I also use other quotes on my videos, it's about sharing experience, strength and hope of what is working for me. For anyone who can't get to meetings, or is just interested, or has a desire to stop drinking. So I share the AA preamble, that's Alcoholics Anonymous. Not for everybody, but certainly helps me on a daily basis, and I've met so many people who are simply unique, authentic on their life path. As it said, trudging the road of happy destiny. Unique, authentic people, not special and different, but with this one similarity, which is to be sober, and that helps us keep life in the day. So AA, what is it? I'll share the statement of intent, and it's called the AA preamble, shared at every meeting I go to here in London, United Kingdom. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So primary purpose to help others, and the only requirement is a desire to stop drinking. So what an open fellowship this is. And in this book, the daily reflections which I share here, don't know if you can see it too well, It covers the 12-step program of AA. That's 12 steps of action for a person to change their attitude and behaviour, so living in the day works better. And February is all about step 2, which is coming to believe in a power greater than us can keep us sane on a daily basis, or restore us to sanity. And I always think it's on a daily basis, because I can go as mad as hell given life experience and circumstances. So I know it's a daily program, and it's progress, not perfection. And that used to kill me, trying to be perfect. Never was, never can be. So for February 16th it says commitment. Understanding is the key to right principles and attitudes. Understanding is the key. And right action is the key to good living. There came a time in my program of recovery when the third stanza of the Serenity prayer, which reads, "The wisdom to know the difference," became indelibly imprinted in my mind. From that time on, I had to face the ever-present knowledge, that's the ever-present knowledge in the moment, that my every action, word and thought was within or outside the principles of the program. So either I'm in the program or I'm outside it. I could no longer hide behind self-rationalization, or, well, I had to do that because, nor behind the insanity of my disease, that is saying, my disease told me to do this. The only course open to me, if I was to attain a joyous life for myself, or a sad one as life offers, and subsequently for those I love, was one in which I imposed on myself an effort of commitment, discipline and responsibility. And that sounds a bit difficult, really. Discipline, responsibility, all those words that a rebel like me didn't like. But even if we're going to be a rebel, we need to be treating ourselves well, and we need to be doing exactly the same for other people. We need to be consistent internally and externally in how we're living. And I was just doing some quotes which I share on Facebook, and here's one. It fits in with my feelings sometimes. Love. Either we are all in or all out. And the psychoanalyst Rollo May wrote, "Hate is not the opposite of love, apathy is." And my father on his deathbed said to me 3 words to consider how we treat ourselves and others. We cherish or are superficial and indifferent. And for me, when I actually apply those terms to myself, do I cherish people or am I superficial and indifferent? Also applies to me as well. Am I cherishing myself and looking after myself, or am I superficial and indifferent? Would I prefer to go back to drinking? Well, the answer for me is no. And another one from Rollo May, courage is not the absence of despair, it is rather the capacity to move ahead in spite of despair. So for me, back in the day, too much fear, brave facing, ego. That's how I lived, fear, brave facing and ego. And these days, if I can just get courage, faith and confidence on a daily basis, enough, and know the difference, then I'm on the right track. I'm just conscious of time here. And another one, let go, let in the good of now, from conscience, wisdom of others and the truth of now, is complemented by, again, Rollo May. Human freedom involves our capacity to pause, to choose the one response to which we wish to throw our weight. And then I added, let's write these down. We deserve, we work at living and choices come. Sorry, we do not deserve. We work at living and choices come. Which means for me that we don't deserve anything in life. We have to work at it. So then we get our choices back. And coming back to that Serenity prayer, which is about wisdom to know the difference, the full Serenity prayer, whether you believe in God or not, it's to a meditation of what works today. So, to God, all good conscience, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference for me always is just for today. Substance addiction or behavioural addiction, or both. My substance over the years was alcohol. my behaviour, trying to be perfect, never so, and always forlorn about something or other, never quite understanding what was going on with me. And some years into recovery I'm making a bit of progress, just on a daily basis. And what helps me most is the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't need to know about it if you're not an alcoholic, but it's helped me in more ways than I could possibly imagine to do with how to live life and get to understand my emotions, what spiritual may be for me, and physically how to live as best I can. And the gift of recovery for me includes a couple of years of being okay, sort of, but depressed, then getting type 1 diabetes from a virus. Long story, won't go into it now, and also properly diagnosed with clinical depression. Something I've had all my life, I suspect. Now I look back and understand what has been going on. So the gift of sobriety is not only being sober, it's actually understanding what my situation is and what I have to deal with on a daily basis, getting to the truth of now. And I go to AA meetings, and yesterday I actually went to 3. I went to the 9:30 discussion or topic meeting for 1 hour, and it was all about newcomers, and that's so important to be a part of and understand how to be able to find sobriety. So my videos are really very focused on how to keep well one day at a time. And at these meetings we have a preamble, and I can't speak for Alcoholics Anonymous, but I can speak about how it helps me on a daily basis. And in the preamble, shared at every meeting, it outlines what it's about. And it goes like this. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes, and it certainly doesn't endorse or oppose my videos, not as a body, but people in and out will have their own ideas. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, and I guess that's my main aim in this. It's about recovery in the day for me. And doing these videos helps me get a perspective on where I am now. And normally when I wake up I say to myself, how am I feeling? Why? What can I do? And that's an isolated question to assert to myself, how am I feeling today? And the truth of now is it's very difficult. I know what is going on. I've had to change my medications to do with type 1 diabetes and clinical depression. The additions to my recovery which came along, as always happens, not only for alcoholics in recovery, but for normal people. We are normal, actually, and susceptible to every other condition under the sun. So going to fellowship doesn't mean we will be protected in some special way from life. Indeed, we engage in life more, and more life happens, and that's so important. More life happens in recovery, and it will not always be good. So the idea that serenity is always being calm, serene, and, well, there you are. The suggestion is it's calm. Serenity is knowing how we are today, and what we can do and what we can't do, and getting the wisdom to know the difference. So I am using and utilising books like the Daily Reflections to share the daily message, as Bill sees it, another 1-pager per day, or more, if you're still feeling a bit agitated. And somebody recommended this book to me, and it's by Sally Brampton, Shoot the Damn Dog. If I have time, I might just include it in a second video, but my main focus is to share the message of experience, strength and hope from the literature of AA. But this particular book, I've only read the first 3 or 4 pages, and I know intuitively and instinctively it's got a really powerful message about how to deal with depression. It won't take it away, but it will enable a person to see what is going on inside them and connect with many things. And I have great confidence. I'll share some of that maybe a bit later. And I've been reading the big book as well, the big book of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I'll just share a little bit. I will have to do 2 videos this morning. Chapter 3, page 30 in the 4th edition. for those who are wondering which edition it is. More about alcoholism. Most of us have been unwilling to admit we were real alcoholics. No person likes to think he is bodily and mentally different from his fellows. Therefore it's not surprising that our drinking careers have been characterised by countless vain attempts to prove we could drink like other people. The idea that somehow, someday, he will control and enjoy his drinking is the great obsession of every abnormal drinker. The persistence of this illusion is astonishing. Many pursue it into the gates, all the gates, of insanity or death, and that was me. I was revived by Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. I wasn't too pleased that they did at the time. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. The delusion that we are like other people, or presently may be, has to be smashed. We alcoholics are men and women who have lost the ability to control our drinking. We know that no real alcoholic ever recovers control. All of us felt at times that we were regaining control, but such intervals, usually brief, were inevitably followed by still less control, which led in time to pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. We are convinced to a man that alcoholics of our type are in the grip of a progressive illness. Over any considerable period we get worse, never better. I'll leave it there for the moment on that. And I'm beginning to see, the power of these words. For the first 2 years I couldn't hear them, and then I said, yeah, intellectually, in my head I could see, so what does that mean? And the actual power of them these days is because I feel the difference between drinking and not drinking. And I feel the difference between being happy or sad, so my emotions back, and they're in a right old turmoil now. All my medications to do with diabetes and clinical depression are being discontinued, apart from some essentially horrible ones to do with blood work, which is making me feel very depressed. And is it making me? No, it's actually happening. So we need a bit of joy, don't we? And for February 16th, in this book, Daily Reflections, commitment, and this is my commitment to myself as well. Understanding is the key to right principles and attitudes, and right action is the key to good living, and that comes from the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. There came a time in my program of recovery when the third stanza of the Serenity Prayer, the wisdom to know the difference, became indelibly imprinted on my mind. From that time on I had to face the ever-present knowledge that my every action, word and thought was within, or outside the principles, of the program. I could no longer hide behind self-rationalization, nor behind the insanity of my disease. The only course open to me, if I was to attain joyous life for myself, and subsequently for those I love, was one in which I imposed on myself an effort of commitment, discipline and responsibility. So where it says commitment, discipline and responsibility, it's knowing on a daily basis how I'm doing, how I'm feeling, and being outward looking, and the danger with any sort of addiction, it wants us on our own, isolated and engaged, so that we cannot look outwards. And at the moment it's tough, it's really, really tough. So serenity is accepting whether it's joyful or sad, or what is happening right now, and no mountain can be moved on one's own. Maybe that's true, but besides that, when I actually recite the Serenity Prayer to myself as part of my morning meditation, which is God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I really understand that these days, just a little bit better on a daily basis. And it comes down to acceptance and love, self-love and love of others too. So on top of all the medical problems, I'm still grieving my relationship, and quite rightly. We don't stop loving people. Thank God that's true. All about recovery from either substance addiction or behavioural addiction, or both. My substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect, and very, very far from it. But we are imperfectly perfect, because if we had nothing to aim at, what would be the point of life? And I've just been talking on my first video about the reading in daily reflections and some of the stuff that I was going through yesterday and today. So I've got a lot on my plate when it comes to trying to deal with my situation. And besides recovery, type 1 diabetes, clinical depression, and a complete change in regime for those two things. So some of my meds were contraindicated or not working. And one or two of the new things I'm having to start are very difficult, and it's like an excoriation of one's insides. So excoriation means a flaying, if you like, and feels like that. What is my video all about? Recovery, and recovery on a daily basis. So that's why I do 1 or 2 videos, or as many as I feel the need to, because it's my way of slowing down into the moment of now, the truth of now and how I feel. So when I'm on my own, I can ask myself in the morning, part of my reflection is, how am I feeling, why, what can I do? On the emotional, spiritual and physical fronts. So emotionally, I know life is difficult and will be for some weeks. Spiritual is the truth of now for me, and physical, I'm in pain, abject pain some of the time. It's again too long to go into now, but it's difficult, I tell you that. And but I am enthused by 1 or 2 things I've been reading this morning, not just the daily reflections from AA, but also from As Bill Sees It, which is integral to something else I picked up from a friend of mine who recommended it, a book. I'll talk about that in a moment. But As Bill Sees It, page 30, and it just happens to be a very appropriate coincidence. It says this: getting off a dry bender. Sometimes we become depressed. I ought to know. I have been a champion dry bender case myself. While the surface causes were part of the picture, trigger events that precipitated depression, the underlying causes, I am satisfied, ran much deeper. Intellectually, I could accept my situation. Emotionally, I could not. To these problems there are certainly no pat answers, but part of the answer surely lies in the constant effort to practice all of AA's 12 steps. And you know what? That is true. But if you'd asked me 2 years ago, what did that mean? I wouldn't have a clue. And really what I'm learning on a daily basis is the power of a program of self-healing. And, you know, the self-healing doesn't mean we are going to be completely perfect. What it tells me these days, we self-heal to the capacity we have. And once we understand our emotional capacities, our spiritual capacity, and our physical capacities, and where the limits are, it's not to keep on pushing against those boundaries so we can excel in some aspects of our life, because just going further means we wear out faster. So ask a footballer at 40 how their knees feel these days, or ask a gymnast what it's like now, 25 years later. Are they still able to do all the things they thought they could do 25 years earlier? The answer is no. And similarly, I've come to understand that there are limits to what I can do and my capacities. But that should not deter me from trying to make the best of what I have, and have commitment to it, and keep on working at it. Not to exhaust myself, but to make myself able to deal with the best that is right now. And this book, Sally Brampton, Shoot the Damn Dog, a memoir of depression. And As Bill Sees It there, it talks about depression. Modern science is moving along really quickly, and also people who have depression are moving along pretty quickly too, understanding their situation and doing vast amounts of research on how to deal with clinical depression, or whatever version it is. Depression is depression, it's as bad as it need be, and how to deal with it. We can't expunge it, as some would wish, and medication doesn't take it all away. It just makes it a bit more manageable. Here we go. Don't look down at the introduction. The mind is its own place, and in itself can make heaven of hell, and hell of heaven. John Milton. This is a memoir of depression. It is also my story, because I believe that we learn through stories. We learn that we are not alone. My story is no better or worse than the next person's, just as my depression was no better or worse, although it felt like it at the time. I thought I had no hope of ever making it back to that place I called life. I thought too that I was the only one who felt that way. Depression feels like the most isolated place on earth. No wonder they call it a disease of loneliness. If you're reading this book, you and you feel that way too, you are not alone. I understand how you feel. I think that anyone who has suffered from even mild depression understands how it feels. Yet we forget that others understand our suffering. We withdraw, isolate, or shut down completely. We lose ourselves in ourselves and in the illness. It doesn't have to be that way. If we connect with even one other human being who truly understands, we take one step out of the illness. Life is about connection. There is nothing else. Depression is the opposite. It is an illness defined by alienation. So I offer this book by way of connection. I offer it too as a source of hope. I hope that by sharing what I was like, what happened, and what I am like now, that it may bring somebody else comfort. I am not an expert, except by experience. For nearly 4 years I lived with depression day and night. I thought I would not make it through. I thought, without wishing to be dramatic, that I would die. I wanted to die. At one time it was all I wanted. It was not something to regret or to be ashamed by. Wanting to die, or suicidal ideation, as the experts would have it, goes hand in hand with the illness. It is a symptom of severe depression, not a character failing or moral flaw, nor is it truly a desire to die so much as a fervent wish not to go on living. All depressives understand that distinction. And there's more, and I haven't got the time for it right now. When it said the distinction, the suicidal ideation, it's, do I really want to die? Or in my case, it was, do I really want to wake up? And that was the difficulty for me. Did I really want to wake up day after day feeling as bad as I did? And what could I do about it? And those years and years of depression were on my own. I don't know. I didn't keep going for myself. I kept on going because of how it might impact on other people in my family. I lost my way completely, and as it says there, anybody who suffers from depression, even from mild to severe depression, we know what it's like, and it's the very difficult aspect of saying I don't feel right and I don't know why. And I remember back in 1996, March 28th, 2000, March 96, March 28th, I wrote an email to a colleague at work saying, I have no clue what is wrong with me. I don't know what to do. I'm going to go see my doctor. And that was at the start of the day where I was going to go then do a team building exercise with a bunch of people who were great. I must pause. A timely break. Anyway, March 28th, 1996, I broke down. Had a nervous breakdown. Well, I didn't know it was a nervous breakdown then. It was a 2-year anxiety state of trying to prove I could be the person I used to be. And actually, when we have a breakdown, it changes us completely. And the gift is then we actually learn that on a daily basis we keep on changing, gradually, if we have commitment, if we put the work in, if we don't wait to be fixed. And this is the key. When depression is as bad as it can be, we just need to be held somehow, somewhere. Find connection, and it's the connection to life and living. When we don't want to, that is the hardest moment. So I don't know how it turned out that I made it. It wasn't just me, and I have a lot of gratitude for the people who helped me along the way. Anyway, more anon. And finally, as I have the time, I always try and remind myself when things are going badly or good, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and continue to learn the wisdom to know the difference, simply a day at a time.